If you've seen the first ride review of the Harley-Davidson X440, you'd probably remember me saying that it's an exciting time to be a motorcycle enthusiast. Well, times have become a lot more exciting, and that's thanks to this, the Triumph Speed 400. At rupees 2.23 lakh ex-showroom, that pricing just blew us away, and that's for the first 10,000 customers. After that, it'll cost rupees 2.33 lakh ex-showroom, and for that, you get a lot of bike. You get a 400cc single-cylinder liquid-cooled engine, a proper chassis setup, a strong chassis setup, and of course this proper Triumph styling. Welcome to the first ride review of the Triumph Speed 400, and in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this bike and whether or not you should be getting one. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, share it with like-minded enthusiasts, and click on that bell icon to stay notified for all things thrill of riding. Before I talk about the engine or the way it rides, I really think I need to address the design of this motorcycle. Triumph has done a spot-on job of making this look like a Triumph. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can say the same about Hero with the Harley-Davidson X440, but that's a story for another day. But this bike, the attention to detail, the build quality, the panel, the touch and feel of this bike is just so premium. All the design screams Triumph. Now this is the Speed 400, which means it's inspired and derived from the Speed Twin 900 and the 1200. And this has all the design elements to make it look like it belongs to that category of motorcycle. Like beginning with the headlight, you have that proper neo-retro looking headlight with the LED bits going on. All the lighting on this bike in fact is LED, including the indicators. Then you have this beautiful tank, the paint finish, the details, this fuel filler cap, it's all so nice. Moving to the side, everything looks properly proportionate, everything looks very cohesive. You really have to admire the attention to detail. Take for example this triangle clutch case, then this TR badging on the engine, and even the fins. This is after all a liquid cooled motorcycle, so those fins, they aren't really functional, they're aesthetic, but still they are of different sizes and different shapes, all that hark back to Triumph's lineage and their original Bonneville engines. Everything is just so nicely put together over here. Even the rear end, that's nice exhaust, everything looks beautiful. Now with the design bits out of the way, I think we need to talk about that engine because there's a lot going on over there. Now I need to get something out of the way right at the start. Just because this has 400cc and it has the same bore as the Dominar 400's engine, this doesn't mean that it has anything to do with that bike. Bajaj made it blatantly clear that this is an all-new engine and that Bajaj cannot use it in any of their bikes. Now, talking about this engine, this is a 398cc single-cylinder liquid-cooled DOHC 4-valve engine. So yes, it is a pretty modern engine. And in terms of outputs, this makes 39.5 bhp and 37.5 Newton meters of torque. Those are healthy figures, especially considering that this bike weighs 176 kilos with a full tank of gas. How does this bike perform? Well, as you would expect, it's a pretty punchy little bike. It's got a lot of performance and it's extremely engaging to ride. This ride-by-wire throttle is calibrated really nicely, and the power, though on paper it looks like it's delivered rather high, it's not as peaky as the KTM's. What that means is it's really engaging, it's a linear power delivery, and it's tractable at the same time. You don't need to be working the gearbox constantly to really get moving, and that really comes handy when you're riding in traffic. Put it in third, fourth, and you can putter around comfortably. In fact, this engine is so tractable that you can leave it in sixth and ride from as low as 50 kmph all the way up to its top speed. Speaking of top speed, we did get a go at the Chakan test track at the Bajaj facility, and I, with my weight and my size, could clock around 160 kmph on the speedometer. Some lighter riders even said that they were clocking 168. So that is impressive. And the best part is that this 160, it comes up really quickly. It's not like it goes up to 130, 140 and then it's a slow climb up to there. It's pretty rapid the way it accelerates. And at the same time, the performance is not scary. The way it delivers its power is really linear, really gentle and extremely friendly, which means that you can make the most of it. Now, this also does have a traction control system, and you can argue that you don't really need a traction control system for this sort of bike, but the way that it is set up, I didn't really feel that it was a problem at all. In fact, we were riding in the rains as well. Some bits were dry, some bits were rather wet, and I was glad that it was there. I didn't really feel it intervene, but I did know that it was watching over me. The best part is you can switch it off if you don't like it. Just long press the button and it stays off. Now this engine, it's mated to a 6-speed gearbox with a slip and assist clutch. What that means is the clutch pull is really light, and the gearbox itself, it's a very positive feeling gearbox. It's tactile and you can click through the gears really nicely. There's no quick shifter here and I really don't miss it. Now let's talk about the ergonomics and the ride and handling of this bike. When I saw the initial press photos, I was a little worried that it will be a little too small. But upon seeing it in the flesh, it really isn't the case. And at the same time, it's not too big that it will be difficult for a smaller rider to really get on this and have fun while feeling confident. Now this has a really accessible 790 mm seat height. I'm 5'10", and as you can see, I have a nice comfortable bend in my leg. And that should mean that riders of all shapes and sizes should be able to get on and comfortably ride this bike. In terms of ergonomics, you have a nice flat wide handlebar. It's not too wide, but it's not too narrow either. That gives you good leverage over the bike, and the foot pegs are placed in a slightly sporty position. What this means is this is an extremely engaging bike to ride. And that engaging bike feeling also comes from its chassis setup. Now this uses a new hybrid perimeter frame with a bolt-on subframe. Now the benefits of the bolt-on subframe is that in case of an accident, it's easier to replace just that one part instead of having to replace the entire frame. Now this frame, it's suspended off of a 43 mm upside down fork setup at the front and a gas charged monoshock at the rear. Now this monoshock and front suspension comes via endurance suspension, and the monoshock is also adjustable for 10 stages of preload. Now the overall riding experience is one of a proper Triumph. It's engaging, it's predictable, it's sharp, it's nimble, and most of all, it's enjoyable. Now this is a roadster. It's not meant to be a proper outright sporty bike, say like the Duke, but at the same time you can have a lot of fun with it. Now Triumph tells us that the bikes that are made for India have an India-specific state of tune in the suspension, so they are made to handle all that our roads have to throw at it. And from my stint riding this bike, I can say that that is true to quite an extent. The ride quality overall is quite plush, but at the same time it is firm when you need it to be. I said that we got to ride the bike at the Chakan test track, and over there I had a really good time. The bike, it corners like a dream. Like I said, this is a proper Triumph, so it has all the right makings even in that handling front. It enters a corner very nicely. The front end is sharp, but it's not so sharp to a point where you really need to be calculative about your input. You can make a turning input, it will go into the line really nicely and it will hold that line confidently through and through. While riding on bad roads, this is slightly stiff, but it's not really stiff to a point where it's uncomfortable at all. This will handle pretty much everything you throw at it, and the faster you go, the better it deals with everything. Now in terms of brakes, you have a 300 mm disc up front and a 230 mm disc at the rear. Calipers come courtesy of Bybre, and you also have dual channel ABS as standard. Now the braking performance is solid. Although one thing I would have liked is that the initial bite, it comes a little earlier in the travel of the lever. Right now it feels a little squishy. There's a lot of braking performance, but I would just like if it was a little earlier. Now let's talk tires. Now this is where things get a little interesting. There are two sets of tyre manufacturers that have been confirmed for the Speed 400. You either have MRFs, which is what my bike is wearing, or you have the Apollo Alpha H1s. Now both tyres perform really well in the dry, but like I said, we also got a bit of rain on the way, and there I felt like the Apollos outshined the MRFs by a fair margin. The MRFs didn't inspire as much confidence as I would have liked, but the Apollos, they really offered a lot of confidence, and I could push almost to the same extent that I would if I were riding in the dry. Now in terms of features, this bike is well equipped but also pretty bare bones if you look at the competition. You have things like your typical trip meter, distance to empty, real-time fuel efficiency, range and all of that. Apart from that, you also have traction control, which you can switch off by long pressing the traction control button. You have dual channel ABS, and that's about it. You have a pretty basic instrument cluster where you have the speed, which is displayed with an analog needle, and a small LCD display which shows everything else, including the gear position indicator. I would have liked it to be the other way around, where the tachometer is analog but the speed is shown digitally, but that's fine, that's a small trade-off. Now Triumph said that they didn't want to give this bike features like navigation and all that because that's not the style of this bike. And I agree. The fact that this doesn't have navigation is really not a deal breaker for me. And if I want, I could always mount my phone here, and I have a USB Type-C charger if I need to charge my phone. So on that front, this gets everything that you need to get going. Right, so I'm supposed to conclude this video, but I'm finding it really hard to stay objective. What Triumph has done with this bike is simply astounding. It's well built, it's robust, it handles well, and it has a lot of performance. If that's what you're looking for, look no further. Plus, you also have this beautiful styling. Then there's also that price tag, rupees 2.23 lakh ex-showroom for the introductory price tag. Can you imagine a Triumph is more affordable than a Bajaj Dominar? What a world we live in. So in all aspects, I'm completely sold on this motorcycle. There's just one thing that we need to look out for, and that is how well this bike ages. But seeing the amount of work that Bajaj and Triumph have put into this bike, I wouldn't be surprised if this ages really well. Well, that's all I have to say about this motorcycle, but I'm really curious to know what you think about it. And you're going to let me know in the comments section down below. And with that, thanks for watching.